No, no, don't be worried regarding Professor CRM slides. I will get it from him and share with you so that you can listen to the recording again and sync it with the PPT. Right? Because we didn't want to trouble him for his seniority and age to locate the options in each of them. Okay, right? I think eventually that he did pitch it, the overall overview of the workshop in excellent fashion. Right? As I told you, just I think these are people who are possibly the establishers of computer science as a field in India, right? I'll try bringing Professor R. Kalyana Krishnan as well. These two are the famous Krishnans, as I call, right? Who possibly even established the computer science department in IIT, right? And you just, I think, just go and search about what his student have written memoirs about him, right? These are all landmark teachers, right? And it is in fact a real blessing that at least I personally had the chance to interact with him personally, and you possibly also got it in online mode. Okay, so I will not hold you, right? So getting on to the next session, Santosh, you can start recording. Okay, it is recording. Okay, right.
Started.
Yeah, so welcome back. Right, so myself, B. Sivaselvan, right, faculty in computer science engineering, right, and the intent of this, I think, with CRM's session, right, he possibly has done half of my role, right. So as the title of the session, right, is Applied AI, right, a data science application perspective, right. So my intent is to quickly give you the real flair of data science as an applied AI area, right, and just to look at the bottom quote, what or how much has data science and data become important. In God we trust, all others must bring data, right? So this is a famous quote by, I think he's a statistician, right, by Deming, right? So we are only prepared to trust God without data, right? All others you are expected to. So that's the importance of data as a field, data science, data mining, whatever words you want to pitch up. Okay, next slide. I think this you can have a look at it later, right? Because somewhere I was told that in online mode, let the speakers know at least whom they are listening to, right? So I'm not looking this young now, right? Very old photo. You just have a look at the slide later when you get the PPT as well. I don't want to drain your time in this. So this has been my data path. Next slide. Okay, right. So one of the, this is a common slide which I do with my sessions with other colleges as well, right? Because these lot of terms, right? AI, ML, data science. Now it is deep learning is the order of the day, right? Whole lot of jargons. And in fact, if I recall one famous faculty from IIT Madras, right? He says even a vegetable vendor these days has become an expert in deep learning, right? Or they have all done that Andrew NG course on AI or something, right? So, but there's a lot of misconceptions. People tend to mix up one over the other. So I thought at least one or two slides I'll spend on quickly highlighting them. Okay, right? And the Venn diagram there, right? If you call it as a Venn diagram or the subset notations, right, should possibly sync it well. Okay, right? So I think the real mother of all these fields is what I treat as artificial intelligence, right? And what has been the focus there, right? So the larger focus of the artificial intelligence as a domain, right, or as a research area or as an area in computer science was basically to learn from data and make decisions. So I think, sir, no, this is not different from any other terms like data science and all. Right? By the end of this slide, right, or next 2-3 slides, we will start appreciating the difference, right? Yes, it is about learning from data and what is the use of it to make some decisions later. Okay, right? And what is the larger objective? It is basically to train computers to do things much better as human beings do. Okay, right? So in a way, you can view artificial intelligence as nothing but trying to mimic the human intelligence counterpart. So that is why I think the word artificial, it is basically trying to bring in intelligence into my computer or computing system, right? In an artificial fashion. You can't necessarily reach 100% the human intelligence level, but the greater the extent, the better it is. Okay. So artificial intelligence was all about mimicking human responses, human behavior, human skills, right? In the computing setup or in the products which you build, all that stuff, right? Then you have this domain of machine learning. Okay, right? I think you may find, because at least earlier when all this was evolving, right, machine learning was treated as much more stronger, right? That's not the way around. Right? Machine learning, you can possibly only view it as a subset of AI, right? Machine learning, it is again, it uses, there is some learning from data happening, right? That there is no change, right? But then where does a difference kick in, right? ML uses experiences or learned from data, right? So it does some learning from data, and the output of it is what we call as patterns, right? And these patterns are basically applied in test scenarios. Okay, right? So you have learned some model from a data, right? And then you start going live, like live matlab, right? You start making use of the pattern, right? So that is ML for me, okay, right? And then there are some limitations, like ML will require, that is what even the CRM sir was referring to, right? Can I learn from smaller data sets? That is all the challenge, right? But traditionally, as a field, for a long time, the algorithms which came in ML and all, right, or the techniques which evolved, they were requiring larger amount of data, okay, right? So I hope people are getting it. So I have large amount of data, right? And typically that is what we call as training data, okay, right? And then from that data you can learn some patterns, and then you will apply those patterns to real-time scenarios, okay. Now, even to bring in the difference even right now, right? So both are looking like learning from. See, the problem with ML is the patterns that you learned, the test scenarios, right? When you apply them for real inputs, as long as they are matching the training scenarios, yes, the pattern will be successful with some degree of accuracy. You will get a lot of performance measures during the workshop as well, okay, right? But the moment I have a drastically different data, the test record, I mean, okay, it is the distribution of parameters in that record or the test data is totally deviant from the training setup, right? Just to give you one better example, let's say you have learned for 3 types of cancers, right? Or 2 types of cancers, malignant, advanced, right? And then there is that in the test record, I'm getting a patient with a benign cancer, okay, right? So this is where ML may not handle well, right? ML may not respond well to new scenarios, okay, right? How are you differentiating this from AI, right? AI, you can even look at it as that green text I have in the slide, right? It is in fact looking at ML mines patterns, right? Or ML learns patterns. AI is even much more at a higher abstraction, where it is interested in the knowledge behind the patterns, right? That is where, because we human beings, right, we don't, that is what even what CRM sir was talking. How was the pharmacist able to recognize so many different handwritings of illegible handwriting? You can't expect to have it trained, right? That's a real sync of real power of human intelligence, right? So AI is something like that. I hope people are getting the difference, right? So AI is much more generic. The model is much more generic. It is almost close to resembling the human power of learning from experiences, right? So machine learning, it learns from data. AI also learns from data, but the learning curve is much more powerful, right? It should be able to respond to new scenarios much better than an ML setup, right? So AI is the outer circle, that the top one, yes, right? And then inner comes your ML. Both are learning from data, but AI is much more generic. It is much more powerful when it comes to handling new test scenarios, okay, right? I hope people are getting it. And at least in my session, if somebody wants to, I will keep my chat open, right? If somebody wants, you can ping on the chat. I hope the chat pinging will be allowed, okay? And maybe if it is a really pertinent question, I will even mention it during the lecture, okay? So I hope people are now clear with this difference between AI and ML, okay? Then comes the deep learning, right? It is, I think Sir in fact mentioned, right? Machine learning or AI, right? There was this techniques of neural networks, artificial neural networks, right? Now the community has taken it really that far, right? Nested layers or nested hidden layers of a neural network, right? Which is what is called as a deep learning model, right? It is really a deep collection of neural networks as part of my learning model, right? So they have possibly come up with even a new domain or an area called deep learning, right? Deep learning has really gone too deep these days that people even don't bother that there is an underlying neural network in it, right? That's what the joke I share in the classes or with my students, okay, right? So deep learning, you can view it as a subset of ML, okay? But essentially, it is playing with the power of neural networks at unimaginable, I think, as Sar said, right? Some 1,000 parameters to be fine-tuned, large collection of neural networks, okay, right? So, and look at that intersecting point, right? Data science. And the yellow part of the Venn, right? So you have these techniques from mathematics, statistics, visualization, right? EDA stands for exploratory data analysis here, right? So all these are as well there, which existed, right? Even prior to all this, I think even Python as a field has become quite famous only along with ML, but it has been possibly existing from the since late 80s. Okay, right? So data science you can possibly view as an intersection of all these on the left Venn, ML, deep learning, and plus the power of statistics. That is what even Sir said, right? You should have a good grounding of mathematics, right? Which also includes statistics to become a real good data scientist. Okay, right? So just to wind up on this slide, data science, right, is basically about the study of data, right? Capturing them, how is it getting captured, how is it getting stored, right? All that stuff, right? Maintenance, storage front, right? And how do I process them and then carry out some analysis, right? And communication, right? The summary of it, how does the data get presented at varied layers of abstraction to make better meaning, right? Next slide. Okay, I think so. Another way of looking at this introduction which I gave, right? The top when I'm referring to, right? So you have statistics, you have ML, you have AI, right? That intersecting triangle, you can call it as data mining. Okay. I'd say I am basically a person who started out with data mining, right, which has been in place much longer than all these terms came, right? But I think now the current flair is to be on the data science side, right? All that stuff, right? But I think you can even interpret my earlier explanation with the top Venn that you have there, okay, right? So to quickly differentiate or to explain you on what data mining has stood for, right? So it is basically the non-trivial process, meaning it is not a straightforward process of extraction of hidden patterns, right? You can use the word pattern, but in the data mining circles, they will use the word hidden, something which is not explicitly available in the data set, and something which is not previously known, right? And all this should make some sense, right? So potentially useful information, okay? So large data sets I have, right? Maybe the IRCTC or railway reservation portal, right? So I think last 5 years of the customer booking data they have, right? Which may run into millions of records. So can I make some meaning out of that data? Can I extract some useful information from such large data sets? Is a focus of data mining. Okay, there's a subtle difference, right? In your DBMS, right? DBMS is what we call as, right? I think I am also pinging on the chart to replace a board mechanism. Okay, DBMS is more of a retrieval mechanism. Okay, right? So DBMS will possibly help you in retrieving things or data which you have stored and give it back to the user in a possibly highest salary, lowest salary, average salary of persons. So it is only basic information which you can give back to the user. Okay, so you can't give back to the or you can't give back as output something which is not available in the data set. So yeah, the IR system, the DBMS is set up, right? Your famous SQL, right? NoSQL, all those stuff have come these days, but it is about only giving out as output what I already have in varied forms, but not to the potential of data mining. Data mining is about giving out something even which is entirely not stored at all, right? The connection among parameters, right? The system to do that automatically, right? That's the power of data mining. Okay, right? So I think I will use some color code in this presentation. So data mining, red is associated. Nothing important about red here. The later correlation will be easier. Okay. And the flower bracket or the set notation I'm giving, right? So data mining as a field, right? You can even you will require this even for data science, right? So this is possibly requiring concepts from statistics, AI, ML, databases, and much more as well, right? Because how you efficiently store will also make it easier for mining as well. Okay, right? So that is why all these fields are as well important. Okay, right? But I think the real curse of the current day, people want to become data science engineers from the first year itself, right? Students, I mean, right? But ideally, you possibly do it as an elective after a database course, right? So that you the grounding is there. Okay. And data, because these terms have come, data analytics and all was not famous 10 years. They did it, but they didn't call it with these jargons for the current data trend, right? So data analytics, right? So that is where you focus on the processes over the data, right? Carry out some statistical analysis of data, right? So for example, right, your I think there is something called as a box plot here. Okay, just for the interested audience, right? See, you don't have to do even data mining or deep learning and all. If you just tap the power of statistics, well, almost 50% of 50%, just a random number giving, the basic inferences which you need, insights from the data, you can possibly get it done even without becoming a data scientist, even without becoming a data mining person, all that stuff. There is enough concepts in statistics, correlation, mean, median, right, which will all help you to understand the data I have, right? I think box plot is one such powerful data visualization mechanism which will actually help you in distribution. Right? So let's say I have marks scored by 500 students in my course on data mining, right? So how was the larger performance of the class? I think we typically look at class average, right? But I think there is a concept called a central tendency measure in statistics and data analytics here, right? So measures of central tendency are mean, median, mode, right? If you look at that box, why I'm mentioning it, box plot, you just go search on the net. I think maybe Vedant, Basi, we have a session on data visualization itself, right? You just represent the data in a box plot form. How much is the data spread around the median, right? What is a larger chunk of the class? Is it exceeding the median, right? All quick insights, you can get it even with basic statistical procedures themselves. You don't even, I think, data mining, data science, all that stuff you can do later. I think for a first level decision making for a marketing person, for a supermarket owner and all, right? They see that is what the misnomer is. Because TensorFlow is available, we all will use only deep learning. Right? That's not the way around. If you give the due weightage to data analytics, if you give the due weightage to statistics as an area, you possibly can even gain enough insights to kickstart your decision-making activity. Okay, right? So data analytics is very crucial. So this is where. So what is the current jargon of data analytics focusing on? Just the statistical way of looking at data, the statistical processing of data, and then coming at conclusions from that. Right? And then the purple word jargon of big data, as they call, right? And in fact, look at the bottom quote just to signify the importance of data mining, right? We are drowning in data, but starving for information. I am sure, I think this learner audience will know the difference between data and information, right? Data is in its raw form. Information is basically processed data, okay? So big data as an area, why did they come? Why did they give that jargon, right? Eventually, right? Why did data mining come? The database size were increasing, right? From 100 records, I started moving into 10,000 records, right? But still in that generation, right? SQL, at least people, elderly faculty, right? They will recall that for us, a DBMS was only on one system, right? It was my local system, right? But these days, data is getting generated at multiple servers, right? And online data generation, all that stuff is happening, right? So which means you can even view the current setup as DBMS power n, right? So data is coming from all directions, multiple servers, all that stuff. We had to have an area which focuses on that the variety, volume, and the velocity of such data, the speed at which the data is changing, right? So huge data volumes, how do I capture them efficiently? How do I store them efficiently, right? And how do I share them and querying, right? SQL over a standalone database was doing well, right? But can that SQL, how will it yield well to an online setup of databases, right? So big data as a field focuses on such huge volume data management, right? I hope people are getting, I think, see, another catchy term these days, right? They call it big data analytics. That is mixing, I think as a name you can use it, but as a data science person or as a CS person, you possibly have to understand the inner differences, right? So I hope now big data people are clear with the larger focus. Huge volumes of data which address issues of velocity, types of data, variety, right? And the volume stuff. And in fact, there are 5 V's, the other 2 V's you can pick up, or it will somewhere come in the later sessions as well. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, right. So I think the earlier ones were talking about the area, mining, science, and big data. Now this is about the roles you play as individuals, right? So people, that's what I think it was earlier referred to, right? So people are the engineers or programmers or human beings who are, or employees, whichever way you call, right? So people who are involved in this role of predicting the futuristic scenarios based on patterns learned from data, right? So they are referred as data scientists. Okay, right? And I think just to make that subtle difference between a data mining person and a data scientist, right? I think you will have enough packages in Python where you can just call the package, right, to mine out information, right? So that is what is typically data mining. Right? Data mining is also prediction, data scientist is also prediction. But as a person, if you're also interested in coming up with the algorithms which will go and do a mining task, right? So that is where a data mining switches its domain to a data scientist. Okay, I think the earlier days when we all started with data mining, right, we didn't have this term of a data scientist and all, right? So we were eventually playing both the role of a data miner as well as a data scientist. But I think these days, I'll put it this way, somebody who's just using Python packages, calling some NumPy, whatever the packages are, Keras, right, all that stuff, to get that tasks done in analyzing the data, in predicting the future, right? They are just data miners, right? But people who are involved in the creation of such packages, who write those algorithms, right, who implement the real underlying concept behind it, design the neural network for a deep learning model, they are referred as data scientists. Okay, and people who are interested or who are working on the storage front, addressing issues of volumes of data, they are called as a big data professionals. Okay, and then the analysts, right, they don't get into all these stuff. They just are very happy in working with the statistical power of mathematics, right? And focusing about summarizing data, giving insights and reports, right? So they are referred as data analysts, right? So 3 areas which we looked at, 3 types of people who get associated with it, or the roles, and the bottom listings I'm doing, right? Some applications, right? The search engines, right? The Google, if you even type what, right, it finishes the rest, right? So prediction comes in. So people who are involved in the development of search engines, they are literally data scientists for me. I think this example and all, you may not get, this is my view or my interpretation based on the seeing or having seen things over a period of around 20 years. So search engines, I will associate it as a data scientist application. The finance sector, okay, why am I choosing finance sector as a role for the big data or as a domain for big data setup, right? The stock market data scenarios and all, right? There the stock values and all keep changing by the minute, right? So if you can't have a traditional only SQL standalone way of saving it or storing it, maintaining it and all, right? So if you want a real pitch for big data as a field, the finance, I'm not saying finance alone is, you can have other sectors as well, but finance will really merit well, right? So for finance is one felt case application for big data as a field, right? And the statistical power role or the analyst role, right? They find high relevance in the healthcare sector, right? Because that is what even Sir said, right? Explainable AI. Yes, in the medical field, right, you can do prediction, cancer prediction and all, but still if you look at, doctors don't tend to believe everything, right? Because and that is where the current research is focusing on. Explainable AI, can I give the reasons why the ML model is giving the results it is, right? So there, whereas statistical inferences you do, right, that is governed by the power of mathematics. So that is where the healthcare sector, right, it is actually trusting more on the data analyst or the data analytics role. Okay, right. And the last bullet in this slide, okay, right, typical skill set that are associated with each, right? So data scientists and data miners you can include there. They make use of Python, or they create Python packages, ML, all that stuff. The big data people, right, they get involved, or they get exposed to skill sets like MongoDB, the Scala architecture, right, Java. All this stuff will help you in becoming a good. This is just an illustrative listing here, okay, right? And if you are just interested in the data analyst role, R and Python, right? Python, I think it has become a sort of a general purpose, right? R is excellent. The statistical support of things here. Right? Now, I'm not saying Python is not good. Python also you can do good amount of data analytics or the basic statistical features, I mean. But typically the community or the literature, right, they view R as much more powerful, right, on the statistical front. Okay, right. So I leave it to you, depending on your application domain, right, what all. We can't go deep into each, so we are sticking on to Python. But I think this audience may also have some industry counterparts, right? And I don't know whether it will make sense for this audience, but typically this is a slide I use it to my BTech audience, my student, right? So finally, what does it matter? The most valuable player of the money, right? This is the order of the salaries. I think this was from some online material. It was basically a survey which was published, right? So data scientists take the larger share of $123,000, right? Dollar or pound, whatever it is, you go look at it. The larger summary, data scientists take a larger share. Then comes the big data professional, and as always, the really powerful people, the statistical people, right? They are at the bottom of the pyramid there. Okay, right? But nothing. All are important. All are equally important. But that is how the application industry people, right, use it. They are at the bottom of the pyramid. So is it a month salary and all? You take it. The larger importance is what I'm interested in. Okay. So next slide title, modern apps and analytics, right? They are inseparable, right? So I think, right, at least when we all started out with the data science, or data science was not even a word then. Data mining was there, right? And I think data mining as a field started from 1990 onwards, approximately around that, until 2000, the conventional mining stuck on. Okay. I don't know how many of you, I think this audience at least will have sufficient experience people as well, right? So this Gmail I think I will take out Gmail, right, and then relate all features, okay, right? So Gmail as a service provider started out in 2004, okay, right? And I don't know how many of you recall that then existing applications such as your Hotmail. I think Hotmail was a very famous application for mails those days, right? And just for the audience's knowledge, Hotmail was an MTech thesis of Sabir Bhatia, who was an IIT Delhi student. Okay, but then he eventually sold it to Microsoft Network or MS people. Okay. And then there are other service providers like Lycos, Rediff. I think Rediff is still there later. Lycos, Yahoo as well, right? Yahoo was really famous. But then why am I highlighting that? You look at the curve, right? Yahoo, Hotmail and all, I think I may even use the word have died, right? They possibly have given way, or was it giving way, or Gmail took their way, right? So what makes Gmail, I think if today it is even a child has a Gmail account, right? I think this online mode has only pushed even 3rd and 4th standard kids to have a Gmail account. And the great beauty about them, the moment you feed your date of birth, right, it says you can only be registered as a child account. Certain features are automatically disabled, right? Now, why am I highlighting this? Google as a company, right, when it rolled out Gmail, right, or Google Mail as they call, right, they kept constantly evolving. Enough amount of AI or prediction features were what they kept on adding. They even keep on still adding. I think that's the best word to use, right? It kept evolving, right? Well, at least I had the fortune, because when Gmail rolled out, right, the initial rollout was not based on anybody can register and use and all. You had to have some contact. You had to have some employee contact in Google to get their service. Okay, right? I think I had one of the long back students, right, who eventually gave me a link, right? So the way they started out, I'm telling, right, there was a reason why they did. That's what the importance is, right? So they wanted to have a trusted group of users to test their service, and then eventually when they go in for the subscription based rollout, right, they actually had lot of inputs, lot of data from trusted users. They adjusted their models, they adjusted their application to it, right? I'm not saying Gmail had AA or ML even at the start. The way they rolled out itself was much different from the then existing counterparts, right? And the next bullet, this idea of conversation, right? The Hotmail people, right, will remember if I started a mail, then the other person responded, keeps on responding. In the original days of Hotmail, right, each response was even a separate inbox email, right? So this Gmail actually even was the first one to start out this idea of a conversation thread, right? So 100 emails, they're all happening in a threaded fashion in response to one trigger, right? These all stuck well with the users, right? And in fact, the way they rolled it out for trusted audience first, then why it was not about believing you and all. They wanted to learn your behavior, learn data from you, learn something from the data, and then go out more light. Okay. I hope people are getting, right, why Gmail succeeded. And I think I teach the interaction design course also, right? Google's policies, right? Just to tell you what I think something what struck me there as I was looking at the Gmail as an evolution there, right? Google looks at the way users will be comfortable with products by learning from their patterns, right? They don't make us. I think that's where some of the other companies, which I choose not to mention the names, where developers assume things on behalf of the users. Google most often does not do that. Google actually learns from users and keeps adjusting their product. Okay. Some of the features in Gmail which have come later, right? Not in the first versions, right? But over the years they have got added. Okay, right? So the intent of my lecture, right, the session is so that I can connect some of the standard data science, data mining areas with one product called Gmail itself. Okay, right? I think you people see this usage of this word called spams, right? Is it a valid email that I should read or not, right? Or is it a system-generated email, it's a marketing-related email, right? Which is an auto email sent, right? All that stuff. Auto, not all I mean. Is it looking like a or shall we use the word noisy email? Okay, right? So the spam identification feature of Google is nothing but what we call in data mining as the data classification as an area, right? I think don't be bothered about, sir, you're not teaching data classification, all that stuff will come. This is just an application flare, right? I think even Muthukrishnan sir mentioned about the word classification, right? So there are only two classes of interest. Every incoming email should be treated as it's a valid email or as a spam, right? So that is why I call it as a binary classifier, right? So that is one application of data mining, right, or data classification. Then when you log in, right, there are almost 3 tabs. Inbox, or that is what we call primary, right? When you log in into Gmail, right, I hope I'm not able to physically demonstrate it here. You will see 3 tabs, right? Primary, social, promotions, right? Social is mail coming from the social media groups, right? And then promotional emails or marketing emails, all that stuff. And beyond all this will be your spams, right? So this is again a case only of data classification. Every incoming email, right? How does it do? That is what the learning, the data scientist role we will get in there. Don't bother about the how of it. Right now we're interested in where and what of it, where all it is used and what is used. So email classification as spam or not, email classification as primary or social or not, all these are nothing but the area of data classification. Okay, right? And then one more feature, right, that you see in Google or Gmail, I hope people have used it or at least taken the pain of noticing it, right? What we call as the priority inbox, right? Can I have some important identification from based on people whom I mail very frequently, right? It can either be based on frequency or right. Let's say there are some 2-3 IDs which would interact daily at least 3 times, and then there is a mail coming in from him, right? So that is what we call as frequency, right? Or let's say mail is coming from the boss ID, the HR manager, the team lead, the director, the principal, the VC, right? So again, importance of email IDs. That is where Google this is all ML or maybe applied AI, whichever you call. You can't call it AI because I think it won't work very generically and all, right? So I hope people are getting it. Learn some frequent patterns in the data I have, and then build up. They came up with a model called priority inbox, right? So what was the objective? So that people don't miss out on what important persons they generally read emails from, right? And I know how many of you people have noticed it. A recent add-on from Google, right? They call it nudge, right? You got an email from an important person whom you normally respond, you have not responded for 4 days. It actually tries nudging you, right? No, you have not responded for 4 days. Do you want a reply, right? That is where that's the real power of a real case for Gmail tapping the power of ML. Okay, so I think the one more area in Gmail, yes, right? I hope people. I think it is an inverted pentagon, yellow-colored pentagon, yellow-colored. Shall I use the word slanted pentagon symbol? I hope it is, right? Against each mail in your inbox, you will see a shaded yellow color inverted arrow mark, right? Pentagon in the shape of an arrow mark, bigger arrow mark, right? Which is also yellow color, right? That is actually used to convey that it is an important email, right? And then, I don't know how many of you have taken the pain of noticing it, that yellow is actually clickable. Right. So the moment you click over that yellow or mouse click and then mouse over and then click it, it becomes unshaded, right? So there the difference is the system learned it as important, and then you are teaching the system, no, you have learned it wrongly, you treat it as unimportant. Okay, I think that's, you see what is the power of learning. They are actually making it a user click to learn it as unimportant or not. Important, they do it. That's what efficiency of the algorithms they have written. Okay, right? So this important or unimportant mail identification, just like your spam, is also yet another case of data classification area application. Okay, and this priority inbox, right, or priority inbox as they called it, we have another area in data mining called as, I think you will get it in my later slides, but just to mention it as we are going there, the association rule mining. Okay. So I think the essence of this slide, right, so that you can connect, because this is a product which we keep using day in and day out, right? You can't have a better example for ML being used. And these days, Alexa is there, Cortana is there, right? Even at the speech level, AI has come. All this stuff is fine, right? The last bullet, right? That's actually my experience, right? Your subject of the email, the text, the body of the email which you type, right? Because I told, right, the frequent email IDs you mail or you get emails from, that was my notion that it is used for priority inbox, lot of classification areas and all. Okay, but the real beauty of Google, I'll just share my personal example, right? I once got a mail, I think possibly some 3-4 years back, but he was my BTech classmate, right? In his faculty's BTech classmate should be actually, the association dates back some 25 years back, whatever be the count, okay? And we have not had contact over a period of some 10-15 years, right? Some x@y.com, let's say, right? I was surprised to note that eventually either I mailed him or he mailed me. I think he mailed me, right? One of my close friends, but we lost touch over a period of 15 years. But his mail was also automatically getting classified as important. Right? That was a real surprise because this was not a frequent ID, nor was it my boss's ID. Right? Then I get, because see, I think close friends, we have some lingo or culture, right? You won't be formal to say sir, all that stuff, right? So why don't you utter that? That's not important. But there is some closeness in the way you write to an informal audience, right? Even I'm actually pitching the power of Gmail as an engine. Their ML is so powerful, their prediction engines are so powerful. that even in such a rare event, it actually understands the closeness of the body of the email with the person and then attaches it as an important email, right? So in that aspect, I will call the same feature even as a data clustering, okay, right? Data, I think even it was mentioned in the earlier session as well, right? Grouping of related data together, right? So it, at least this aspect, that last example which I gave, my personal touch to the body of the email reading and all, right? That is more of a data clustering process, okay, right? So I think that's why the larger intent is, now I'm not pitching the case for Google, just to highlight to you people, our institute, at least I was possibly associated with initial years, right, where our entire email or our entire sharing document, everything is on their G Suite for education platform only, right? But I think I have to but give them due credit. They did have some service perspective towards academia, right? They helped out, and it's all free of cost, right? I think the faculty in the room will know it, right? But I think the larger good things, right? They made all these ML features available. They don't make any difference. But off late, with higher load on the storage, right? They possibly are cutting down on the room size for GBit and all. But that's understandable. Okay. Good. Next slide. So I think, so I don't know. Well, let me tell you frankly, never did I share my slide with CRM share or CRM share. I think those examples are again striking well, right? Amazon, right? You go on to buy one product, you see people who bought this product also bought on all these products, right? And I think I'll tell you one thing. When we all started out, right, Amazon was very famous as a book portal, book recommending portal, right? So when I search for a book on C, right, it would possibly recommend books on Java or C++ related books together. These days, Amazon, right, you want to go, you go with the intent of buying a TV, you end up buying all other items required for the household or the other. Vedant is having a question or what? You can chat. Okay. Right. And just to highlight you, Amazon had in fact a patent of what is called as an anticipatory package shipping, right? Because they don't load a product onto their truck after you order and all, right? So based on a heavy amount of data analytics and all, right? The package or the product, right, is already on transition, right? And then you have grouping to the destination based. Right, so just to give you that example, right? Amazon, they know what you want even before you actually buy it. So your buying history, your buying pattern, all that stuff is looked at, right? And banks also make use of, right? Should I give a customer a loan or not based on his previous repayment history, right? So banking setup, we typically call it as an area of data classification application, right? Should I give a loan or not, right? In that case, it's a binary classifier, okay, right? And I think even Muthukrishnan sir referred it, right? This frequent pattern mining, right? Fraudulent debit card analysis, right? Outlier analysis, right? Because if you're a normal card user, right, you would have given some behavior to the bank. I normally withdraw 8,000 per week, 10,000 per month, right? Or maybe I do normally 6 withdrawals in a calendar year. And let's say the card lands in the hands of a thief or a non-authenticated user, right? He is not going to be patient enough in withdrawing in the same pattern, right? So he will try to, the first value he will try is even 50,000, right? Larger amounts, I mean, okay, right? That is where they get this, because it is a rare event, it's an outlier event, the banks are able to, these days they prevent it, right? They possibly even do double checking. We call and speak to you. Was it you who meant the transaction, right? But the underlying application area is analytics or data science. Okay. And similarly, Netflix, right? They actually recommend you movies, and maybe even they do a lot of learning based on the movies you have watched before, right? When do you actually, or what time of the interval you pause a movie, how frequently do you rewind and play, and then customize it according to you, okay, right? And I think Netflix is also which adopts but it is basically it is not a shopping cart model. After you watch one movie only, they will possibly ship you even the second movie, right? So that all this based on the knowledge they build. Next slide, Yeah, I think I'll go quickly on this, right? Just to give you an idea of the variety of fields, right? The Facebook, right? The people whom you may know, feature is again nothing but frequently. What is a frequent pattern there? Your school name, the college names, right? You possibly got together at several places, right? All that stuff is mine, and then helped in the people you may know feature in the Facebook. Okay, right? So social media analytics, your cell phone offers that you get. If I recharge for 100 rupees and what Sonkar sir also recharges for 100 rupees on ATAL, let's assume, both of them may not get the same package, right? Let's say he's a more frequent user of SMSs, right? He may get a different package for SMS compared to me. How are they able to do all this? It's nothing but data mining underlying. Okay. I think the list will continue here, right? Ola is not famous these days in the COVID era, but pre-COVID, right? Even though you don't want to come, you only wanted to go on time by what? The onward journey you wanted Uber, return you were actually planning to come by bus, okay, right? They have the subtle marketing skill, right? They actually keep tracking your, what is it called, GPS coordinates, all that stuff, and then just to I don't know whether to coerce you into booking a return journey as well, they will give you, right? The next taxi is available next 2-3 seconds, and the offer rate, right? For onward journey, it took you 150 rupees. We'll make the return 100 rupees, right? Eventually, you get. So, on the lighter sense, this is what I put. Data mining, or it is a application of ML in real life, all that stuff, right? It is also possibly resulted in people doing too many things that they were all not interested in as well, right? So, healthcare sector is also using it. And I think one person asked, I forgot the person's name, some PT was a code I got in Teams. It was asking about the pharma setup and all, and CRM sir also answered it, right? New drugs are being launched in the market, right? Even COVID drugs are coming out, right? Pharma, the area is called pharmacovigilance, PV, okay? Now, what is that area about? Any new drugs comes into the market, right? I think for the Indian setup, it is ICMR, and then there's a different drug body as well. For the US setup, it is FDA, right? I think drug agency, federal, something they call, right? So they have to give the clearance, and they give the clearance based on clinical trials on animals and human beings, right? All that stuff they do, right? But what was the problem when they did this clinical trials on humans, right? There was a human cost involved. Right, there is a human cost involved, that there can be immediate fatalities. So only 10 lives we have actually taken the signatures. That is, you are safe on the legal front as a drug creator, fine. But why should we even lose that life? So what is the field interested in? Now you have enough past data of drugs, meaning their inner component, right? Let's say doses. Okay, I think my father takes sugar tablets, right? Metformin, right? Or what is a sugar tablet called as? A glyphosate, right? The inner combination in it is metformin and some other chemical, right? So the last 20 years, 30 years data you have, and the side effects also have got reported over a period of time. Now, that's what they're doing now. They are actually using the power of ML to even test if there are new drugs going to come into the market. Even before I go for clinical trial, I can even have some risk prediction based out of my ML model. Right? So using intelligence to automatically predict adverse, ADR stands for adverse drug reaction here, right? To predict adverse drug reactions for new human clinical trial. Eventually they have to do it, right? But then that is a question of risk assessment, right? Eventually he will not survive. So then, so there are various calls taken, but I think this industry is also gaining traction these days, applying data mining as a field in the pharma industry. It's called as pharmacovigilance, right? And I will wind up here, right? Not more than 5 minutes, right? The human, you can't have a better example of, right, the human, or for a better miner than the human brain, right? We all adjust, right? I think that's the real power of a human being, and that is where AI connects well. How much can I mimic the human brain capacity? Right? Because I think we are all great, right? Even we have not seen the data. Never in our life have we seen that setup. Still, our experiences get adjusted automatically, right? The way a child learns. I think this is the example Professor Ravindran used to give, right, for reinforcement learning as an area, right? The child does not learn, you don't train it how to walk and all, right? And it will never walk when you teach it or train it how to walk. the moment it gets up and falls down, right? That falling down is actually a feedback to the child that if I get up this way, right, I will fall. So that is actually based on, that's the real human power of learning, right? And another example he gives for this is the way we learn bicycle, right? No, my father used to hold it at the back. I didn't fall and all. You will never learn it right. You will learn right only when you fall, right? You possibly do some adjustments, right? Okay, the hip should not tilt in this direction. The handlebar, I didn't possibly hold it. These are all learnings on the fly, right? No debt. Now, I'm not saying training is not important, but when will ML be real or real life close? That is where the AI success rate comes. Okay, right? I think I will have some more number of slides, but I will quickly wind up because I don't want to drag beyond too much. Right, next slide. Yeah, I think these things I will touch upon, right? The misnomer, right? The various phases of a data mining curve in the tomorrow's talk as well, right? Next slide. Okay, these are the 4 to 5 major areas in data mining, which you will be exposed to algorithms as well as implementation in the workshop. I'll define them each, don't worry, in each session you will get it in depth. Next. Okay, I generally do this here, right? You have to give credit to the people who are famous, right? Professor Muthukrishnan is very famous for fault-tolerant computing research, right? I think that's the real essence of those S-career faculty, right? The way he summed up the scope of the workshop was excellent for me, right? So these are some of the landmark people in data mining research, data science research, right? Jeffrey Ullman, who's really famous for compilers, right? Not many people know that he's also famous for data science, data mining research. Okay, and his famous book on mining massive data sets. It is open, available, free available. You don't have to download it from any Russian website and all. It is free. They give it ethically free, right? So Ullman is one famous person, and then Dr. Rajiv Motwani. Okay, the name sounds Indian. He was a former faculty of Stanford University here, right? And I think if I recall well, he was a BTech student of Kanpur or Kharagpur IIT. And he was also given a distinguished alumnus award, right? But I think he is no more. He died at a very young age of 48 in a freak swimming pool accident. Okay, right? Why am I telling it? I think this is one trigger for you people to read later, right? He was the advisor of Larry Page or Sergey Brin, if the exact student I don't remember. The inventors of Google, right? Larry Page and Sergey Brin. He was their guide as part of their MS study or something. Okay. And they never completed the MS. That's a different story. All good inventors, they never complete academia. That's fine, right? You just go and read the memoir, right, or the remembrance dedication that the Google's founders wrote for Motwani when he actually died. But it was a real unfortunate shock for the academic community. And he is again a prominent data mining contributor. Okay, I think because I want to pay importance to that person. Okay. Today, whenever you use a piece of technology, there is a good chance a little bit of Rajiv Motwani is behind it, in it. So that sums up the contribution of Motwani. Okay, right? I leave it to you for you to read more and all. Right? Another famous person in data science research, Jivai Han. I think I follow his textbook on data mining concepts, and he is a UI, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign professor, and I think he was also associated with Simon Fraser University in Canada. Okay, right? And the bottom person, the last person, right? He is also a phenomenal contributor in data mining. But I think people who have read the data structures book on Horowitz and Sahani, right? He is actually one of the co-authors there. That is why people don't tend to recall him as a extensive data mining contributor. Okay, I looked at a fair distribution of Indians as well. Okay, he was actually an IASC MS who later went on to become a chair of University of Connecticut, right? He is again made some landmark contributions in data mining as a field. Many more in computer science. Sanguteva Rajasekara, okay, right? He was basically a IASC grad. Next slide. You are a teacher. You are giving only importance to teachers. No, Larry Page and Sergey Brin are listed. Professor Kirti Ramamurthy, right? He is another. I think Professor Kirti Ramamurthy was from IIT Bombay, and he was a close. Professor C.R.M. Muthukrishnan, they were all in the same age group. Right? He is again a phenomenal contributor in database management, right, systems, and he was in fact instrumental in having that VLDB conference, very large database conference in India. Okay, right. So these are again Rakesh Agarwal, Raghu Ramakrishnan, I think there's a famous textbook on him as well, on him or by him on databases. Wisconsin math professor, and the Rakesh Agarwal person, right? So Rakesh Agarwal person, I think people who have studied at least data science before or mining, the a priori algorithm, which is famous for, I will teach it in depth, right? I will review as another person. 1990, he was associated with IBM as an Almaden research group, right? Where he found this a priori algorithm. Okay, next slide. You will get the slides, right? So you can patiently read it later, right? And this last person, Osmar Zain, was a PhD student of Jivai Han. He is also now become a phenomenal contributor, right? Sir, WhatsApp, you are not listing it. I think I'm listing it. Jan, the WhatsApp founder, and Jeff Bezos, right? So this is a quick illustrative list for you to dig deep, because I think we won't appreciate it as a field unless you know the people, their contributions as well. Okay, right? So look on it later when you get some time. Okay, right? And just to give you the workshop larger pitch or the plan of the workshop, right? I think the reason you will see less of teacher names in the workshop and more of industry experts, right? Manasa, Vedant, Ishan Dash, many more other, Harini, right? They're all associated with various companies, right? Trimble, there are some are freelance consultants, all that stuff. I want to have 80% focus on the power of Python, right? For using data science, data analytics, right? Or big data we may not touch because that's too big for one workshop. Okay, right? So you can be rest assured you will get more of Python, less of algorithms, and they will also guide you through the sessions around. Okay, right? So I will wind up for my session. Santosh, I hope this is the last slide. Okay, I think I'll share this slide also here. Right? These are some of the works which my research group pursues. I don't want to take your time. Look at it later. We will interact during the 5 days, right? So I will wind up my session, give you a short break, and one request to the audience, right? Because I think the initial scheme of things, I was actually scheduled to start from 10 o'clock, but I was really elated when I could get Professor CRM as per and to have him itself is a real blessing for most academicians, right? Or not just for academicians, for everybody. I thought it as a chance for the larger room size audience to even get to know about him. Okay, right? So there will be a slight and it's an online setup, right? I don't think you will get 1 hour lunch or you possibly get a lunch which is deserving 1 hour and all, right? Because we are in home, right? So I presume, right? Maybe we will give a 5-minute break and then the next set of speakers, right? Manasa, Vidatri, and Divya. Just to give you a quick intro of them, Divya, right? All these are intech grads from our institute. And again, the top-notch students who graduated from our institute, who are now our alma mater, but I think these are the trusted lot whom the faculty believes in. All the people who I have brought for the practice sessions, all that stuff, you can't have. I can vouch for their data science skill set as well as their Python's relevance. Okay, right? So Divya is associated with Trimble, which is a leading company in Chennai, headquartered at US, which does research into interaction design, analysis, and data mining and all, right? And then Vidatri, right? She is actually our gold medalist, topper in the department at the MTech level, and she is also associated with MathWorks. Right, MathWorks famous for their MATLAB, right? So she is associated there, and the Manasa, right, who's again my project student, right, and very strong in data science and data mining. She is associated with a startup, Quinn India Private Limited, and they are basically interested in the power of ML for a social media application, right? So these three people will control the next session. They will give you a short 5-minute break here, right? So 12:20, right? 12:20 to 12:25, so that you forget my face, okay, right? So I will ask them to start and go on till 1:30 or so. I think the lunch was planned from 1:15 to 2:30, I think, right? So my take is they are starting at 12:20, let's say, let them go on till 1:30, right? 1:30 to 1:45, so that you will get a 45 or a half an hour break, 45 minutes break, right, for the lunch, because it is an online lunch, right? Now, I'm not making it always, but I don't want to lose out on content as well for the audience, right? So they can push till 1:30 or 1:40 like that, make it a 1 hour session now, and then start the lab session from 2:30, where if something they feel has been missed out here, they will again correct there, okay, right? So I will break now. So the recording can be stopped, and the floor is later controlled by Manasa and team, Vidatri and Divya. Was there a chat for me? Okay, if do people have any? I think I'm available through the 5 days here, right? Even during the afternoon lab, I will come in, right? So you can ping me there on any clarifications that you had in this session at least. But I think you will see my face all 5 days, at least 4 sessions I do with you, right? So let's not drag on the later session. So for 5 minutes, Mercy, then the next set of speakers can start. Chariama?
Yes, sir.
Mercy, I have a class from 1 to 2 OS class. Okay.
21.
Okay. So now I'll be available initially when Vidatri starts, right?
Okay,
and then I'll go to the 1 to 2 session, so that I didn't want to miss out on the lab session in the workshop. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Can you Vidatri and all are there, right?
So Manasa is here. Vedatri, I have to check.
Divya will be there, right? So I think I've introduced you people, right? And I'm sure that you will do much more justice than I did, right? And just to the audience, right? See, I firmly believe in the culture that when it comes to Python, right, the best people to learn are from the younger group audience, right? Now, I'm not meaning what any happens, right? The way Muthukrishnan summed up the evolution of Python was phenomenal, okay? But when it comes to playing with packages, right, they have that is a child learning that cycle curve, right? They will quickly pitch in the right stuff. And these are again people who are associated with some data science projects in the companies, right? So I think you will have, I'm confident that you will have the real trusted sources to get the Python skill set from, okay, right? I'm not washing my hands off, I'm there, but you each, I'll vouch for all of them. Ishan Dash, Vidatri, experts in the relevance fields, okay, right? So they will start, you can take a break and join. Santosh?
Sir?
You can ping that attendance link into the chat room here so that they